Hello and welcome back to the Side by Side Footy Show, where today I will be covering my round 4 AFL tips and predictions. Now, last week we've gone again 5 out of 7. I did change one of my tips on the day. Did change it from the Crows to the Cats. I think the Crows had some big outs and ended up changing it to the Cats also because of the rain as well. It was really wet. I was like, the Crows don't really play well in the rain. Decided to change that tip, and thankfully I did get that right. But 5 out of 7 for last week, not too bad. We keep kicking on, and now we move on to this round where there's a lot of good games, Easter games, exciting games to look forward to. So we'll get right into it. Starting us off with the Thursday night game, we've got the Brisbane Lions against Collingwood. Now, this is always a really good game, and sometimes it goes either way, this one. The Pies have had a pretty good track record in the last couple of years against Brisbane at the Gabba. So we do perform well there. It's just a matter of, obviously, who Brisbane get back from injuries and who Collingwood... Collingwood, obviously, now we've lost Darcy Moore for about a month, so that could hurt us, but... I don't know, I got a sneaky feeling about this one. I can easily see the Lions winning pretty comfortably, but I think the Pies will want to go up there for a bit of revenge. So I am going to tip the Magpies. Might be a bit biased, but I just feel like this is a game, especially with Andrews out, it's going to be our best chance to beat this Lions side. If we're able to get through that defense wall, it makes a big difference. And defensively, we have lost more, but we're still okay for the most part, especially considering Brisbane do have a couple of other outs as well. I'm going to go the Pies by 7 points. I think we'll find a way to win it, hopefully. Could be hoping more than anything else, but I've got to, look, the Lions won last week, and that if they had lost last week, I would have said that likely they were going to win this game, but they've got to win on the board. At the same time, it could be building momentum, and they could easily win this game as well. But I'm going to back us in. I think it's a game we'd really want to win, and we might lose a couple of games after this, but it's one that could give us that confidence boost so that we can still, compete with the best teams. And obviously, having lost that prelim the way that we did, we're going to go up there for a bit of revenge and win on home turf. So I'm going to go the Pies by 7 points for this one. Moving on to the 2 Friday games. First up, we've got North against the Blues. Now, Carlton, good God, man, like, what is going on over there? Look, North as well haven't been as impressive as I thought they'd be. They did beat Port pretty convincingly, but we're seeing now that Port really are going to be a pretty, bottom 4 side at the moment from how they're looking. Having lost to the Eagles last week in very surprising fashion, to be honest. They looked pretty comfortable, Port, until the Eagles just came out of nowhere, and maybe they're making that a habit, the Eagles, 2 weeks in a row, but... I think this one, look, on paper, I think Carlton is a better side. On paper, I also think North has more potential. But having said that, Carlton have to win. They just have to win. Like, there's no... I can see North winning. I can very easily see North winning. But North is similar to Richmond in that sometimes they waste opportunities. And against Carlton, teams that beat Carlton generally are pretty okay in attack, and they can get a score on when the momentum shifts. And with North, I'd assume this game will start off Carlton kicking a lot early on and maybe going out to a really big lead. But we've seen that kind of doesn't always work. But against North, they're still kind of finding their way. They still make those mistakes. They still waste a lot of really good chances. So will Carlton be able to get through them? And also another thing is that North don't have the strongest defense. So the Blues are pretty damaging, especially in that first half, and it'll be whether or not, if Carlton's winning by about 50 plus points, do you think, they're going to be able to win, but you never know. But I'm going to go with the Blues, even though it's really a bad call to even tip Carlton at this point, but I think the Blues have to get it done. I think Voss will get the sack if they lose this game. And if he doesn't, it's really dodgy, because you just can't keep going with a guy like that if they can't perform against a North Melbourne and be able to get the win. Any chances of a top 10 finish is just out the window if you can't really win this game. So I'm gonna go the Blues. I'm gonna go the Blues by 28 points. I think they'll win pretty convincingly in the end. I could see it being a close game. Maybe the North come back, but they just fall short, a 7-6 point game. But I'm going to go to Blues by 28. I think they just have to win, and they have to win pretty well. None of the same thing that happened against Richmond where it was like, yeah, you won, but did you really win? I think it's just going to have to be a solid performance. And if it's not, then it spells real trouble for Voss, and changes have to be made. Like this is the end of the line here. If you can't get this one over the line, then a lot of problems are going to be coming from it. But that's my tip. The Blues by 28 against the Kangas on the afternoon game. Sorry, I was going to say Friday night game. Speaking of the Friday night game, next up we've got Adelaide against Freo. This is a good game on paper. I think these are two clubs that are sitting, I think Freo are just slightly ahead of them in terms of premiership contention, but two solid teams that compete really well, and I'm looking forward to this one. I think it'll be a cracking game. I do think Adelaide have to win this game. I think it's an important game after losing last week to Geelong. It's a pretty good effort from them, but I think it's just the kind of game at Adelaide Oval, they just have to get over the line. Freo can get over the line. I can see them winning this as well. But I think if Adelaide mean business, this is a must-win game. It's as simple as that. I'm going to go the Crows by 4 points. I think it'll be a cracking game, and hopefully, potentially the game of the round. So I'm going to go Crows by 4 points. I think they'll get it done, and they just have to find a way to get it done in the end. And if it's not raining, especially. But Freo, very convincing, very, very, very good side. So I can see them winning this as well. But sticking with my guts, I'm going the Crows by 4 points. Moving on to the two Saturday games. First up, we've got the Tigers against Port at the MCG. So I think that's probably the crucial element here. Port have to respond after last week against the Eagles losing that. Will they? Won't they? I don't know. Port is just in a weird spot because they've got some quality players in there, but probably not enough across the track. And the coach obviously hasn't had an impact early on. Tigers, very winnable game for them. I'm gonna back the Tigers here. I feel like after the last couple of weeks, sort of missing chances and stuff, they have to get something right, and they will see this as a massive, massive game for them to win. At the same time, though, Port, to me, haven't lost to North, haven't lost to the Eagles. It's a really bad start, and they shouldn't be worse than those teams. And the fact that they have lost those games just shows they're in a really, really bad spot. It's a tough one, this one. I'm going to back in the Tigers, though. I think they have to. I think obviously the urgency is more on Port to get it right, and which, you know what? I'm actually going to switch my tip right here and now, and I'm going to go with Port. I think they just have to win this. Like, losing this game is not an option. You can't lose to, three of the four bottom four teams from last year. You just can't do that. I know they've dropped off. I know they're nowhere near where they were, but they just have to win. They have to win this game at the MCG. It gives them a bit of a boost winning in Melbourne. They just got to win. I'm going to go Port by 11 points. I think they'll get it done. I think they just have to it's really that simple. You have to get it done. If they can't win this, it's a long, long, long wait back, and it might even be the second worst team in the league behind Essendon. So they just have to get it done. So I'm going to back in the Power. I was originally going with Richmond, but the more I think about it, the more it's a must-win game for Port. Just have to win, get something going, and build momentum from there. So I'm going to go Port by 11 points. Moving on to the other Saturday game, which is our night, is going to be the Eagles against the Swans. This one's more straightforward. The Eagles have been impressive. The fact that they've picked up 2 wins in a row after being down by quite a few is really, really impressive from them. But I think this is where the shift ends, and just can't see them getting over the Swans, even though it's at Optus Stadium. I'm going to go the Swans by 35 points. I think they win pretty convincing in the end. But the Eagles are showing fight, which is really, really a good sign. Clearly played for the coach and doing really, really well. But won't be enough against the Swans, who are coming off a bye, and they'll be raring to go, really. So this one's by 35. Moving on to the two Sunday games, we've got the D's against the Suns. Now, the D's, you got to give them credit. You just got to give them credit. They've been really, really good. And, coming back against the Blues, sure, other teams have done it, but you have to make the most of your chances. And they did that, and they never gave in. And even in the last quarter, they were down by 4 goals and still brought it back. Really impressive. But having said all that, it's at the MCG, but it is against the Suns, who right now are looking like the informed team in the comp. behind maybe the Bulldogs, but even then, I do think the Suns have been really, really impressive. Can't see the Suns losing this one. I'm going to go to the Suns by 20 points. I do think it'll be closer than people might think, maybe 30, but I'm going to back in the Suns 20. I think that about covers that. Next up, look away if you're an Essendon fan, because this game could go really, really wrong. I mean, if Essendon managed to lose this game by anything under 60 points, it'll be a win. That's just the best way to put it. I think the Dogs win this one pretty convincingly. They've always battered the Bombers, and I don't think this one will be any different. I'm going to go the Dogs by 65 points. I won't embarrass the Bombers too much, but yeah, pretty straightforward this one. Moving on to the final game, the Easter Monday game. This one is a classic. Always a great watch to watch this one. Now the Cats have been in the Hawks in the last 3 meetings, so they do have their number, and that's probably why. And I think if Geelong lost last week against the Crows, I might have swung that tip around, but I think the Hawks just have to find a way to get it done, and I think they will. Tipping the Hawks by about 17 points. I think they have to win this one. It might be a really, really close game. Hopefully it is, but I just think the Hawks have to find a way to win this. Get a number over the Cats after losing the prelim last season, and just find themselves in a position to really bounce off from here. And yes, the midfield isn't quite what it should be, but just have to find a way to win this one. And it's hard to bid against the Cats because they can just rock up and put on a performance and win games. But I think the Hawks just have to get it done, and I think they will in the end. And that about covers it. That is my tips for the round 4 of the AFL 2026 season. Hope you enjoyed. Looking forward to the games. A lot of really, really good games to watch, and keep a lookout. The Easter games are usually always pretty fun to watch. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. God bless. Take care.